All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our discussion today. Today, we're going to be exploring the topic of CSAs with Andy Dunnan and Ashley Nices of Sandhill Farm. Welcome to the discussion, guys.
Hi.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So Andy and Ashley operate a 1-acre organic vegetable farm as part of the Cincinnati Mound Collaborative, and they are here today to talk to us about CSAs. So for those who are not familiar with the term CSA, can you just briefly talk about what a CSA is and what it entails?
Sure. So CSAs are originally the idea around a CSA is, first of all, CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. So just from the name, you might be able to decipher that it's about people supporting people. So typically you have farmers that have low equity, low capital, things like that, who are reaching out to their community members for support at the beginning of the season when cash flow is not at its height, because we don't have produce in winter for the most part. So people pay ahead of time, and that money provides funding for us to start our farm for the season with seeds and other infrastructure needs, compost, things like that. And then throughout the season, they get their return, and their investment essentially is boxes of vegetables.
So you pay your whole summer's worth of produce right up front here in, say, February, and then you don't have to pay again until next year?
Yep. That's the plan. Yep. Yeah, and we are organic, and we pick everything fresh. So people always tell us that our produce lasts so long, and it's, I believe them because they're so accustomed to getting food from the grocery store.
So how often are shares going out? Is that every week, every 2 weeks, every month?
So depending on what you want as a member, we have 3 different frequencies, as you would say. We have a weekly, a bi-weekly, and a monthly share.
Oh, wow.
And all of those come in either a standard size or a large size.
Cool. And what's the difference between those 2 sizes?
The large is about 1.5 times bigger. Okay. So, if depending on how much you eat, if you have a family, if you're a couple that cooks every night, and even if you're vegetarian. So we have some friends who have a large share. They're vegetarians that cook every night, and I can still see them running out of produce. But it's an adequate amount. Yeah.
Awesome. So do you get different types of vegetables in a large share, or is it more just the quantity of the vegetables that are already in the share?
Quantity.
Yeah, and I would say a little bit of both. I think that's part of being a member of a CSA and receiving a box of produce every week. It changes every week. So there might be a week when we have a lot more salad mix, and so then the large share might get more salad mix that week. Or maybe we have 15 items that are ready for harvest when we usually only put 7 to 12 in a box. That large share might get more items. So it kind of depends week to week, but typically it'll be just more quantity.
Cool. What does an average share look like? Can you just tell me, if I got a box from you, say in the 3rd week of July, what would be in that box?
Oh, July. Well, so like what to expect, the standard shares are roughly about $30 of veggies. So like Ash said, that's about 7 to 12 items. It kind of depends on the season. But in July, you could expect peppers and tomatoes. I don't know if we'd be quite ready for storage onions yet, but you could find green onions and garlic. And one thing we really specialize in is greens. So you'd get salad mix. Maybe we even have kale. We grow over 40 different things. So it's kind of fun to plan out week to week what the members get. But you could expect like a variety of staples. And then maybe a mix in with like what's coming up. So you've been with us for a month or 2 and you haven't had peppers yet. But all the while we've been trying to give you salad mix and green onions and maybe even carrots. Is there something you wanted to add?
No, I think that seems, yeah, that's good.
So what are some advantages to buying a CSA share?
Well, you really get to put your money where your principals are. So there is no middleman. You pay us and we give you produce. And we try to be very intentionally transparent about our production practices, and we are intentional about those production practices. You have a taste that's not comparable to grocery store quality. It will last a very long time. So even if you think, well, this is a lot of salad mix that I'm getting in my share, it actually holds a long time. So you don't have to worry about moving quick to eat it, because it'll be there and it'll be okay.
And I think that that's just a big advantage of really knowing closely. And our community is so small that you can do that. And the beauty is with the CSA, even a big community is small in the sense that you can get a CSA. Even, you know, great organic farms in the East Coast and West Coast, these farms have CSAs. And although they're in this huge state, this huge city, they themselves create their own tight community with their members, their employees, the farmers, their neighbors. I think that's special, because especially with everything going on right now, I think it's important to have a close relationship to people that you value what they're doing and it's reciprocated.
Yeah. And speaking of that, how has COVID affected CSAs or your CSA in particular?
I think that this pandemic has really emphasized what people value truly when things are kind of falling away around them, not to sound apocalyptic, but when you can't see your loved ones, the realness sets in. So I think that for some, what bubbles up is, gosh, what am I going to do for food? You know, how can I feed myself? And so I think people are naturally going towards purchasing food that they feel like they have a little bit more control over because it's local, because they can talk to their farmer and ask them, you know, what are things looking like for you right now? That there's a sense of security there. And for our farm, I think that honestly, the most challenging thing has been identifying in our production practice how dependent we are on seed suppliers. There's been kind of a unrealistic, uncharacteristic rush on seed supplies right now. We have seeds, so, and you know, seeds are available, so no one freak out. But
some of the seeds we depend on, they're not available.
Yeah, so we
have to try new varieties, and there's a level of risk and stress with trying something. It's like, you've been growing the same variety of onions for year after year after year, and then you go and buy your seeds maybe a couple of weeks earlier than normal, and they're even sold out then.
Yeah, and that's actually highlighted. There have been a number of small seed companies that we've wanted to work with, but haven't really taken the extra step to like do that, which sounds silly, but you get in a routine of who you buy from, and that's just what you do.
Right.
But we've actually found a lot of success with those smaller seed companies that they still have product available. So it's kind of highlighted for us how we want to lean on our seed saving community. Another layer that maybe people that purchase a CSA don't really think about. We do our best to be resilient and to have good sound production practices. So if there's drought, we can respond to drought. We have drip irrigation. If there's heavy rains, we have methods to protect us from heavy rains. And seed sourcing is another layer, you know, so like Andy mentioned, we had cabbage seeds that didn't germinate. So we still had cabbages in all the boxes, but that did impact
like how much we could put in there
because we had such poor germination. We're planning to not have that problem this year, but that's one of the elements of agriculture.
Yeah, so the members are kind of sharing that risk in a sense. I mean, it sounds like last year you were still able to supply everyone with the same different types of vegetables that you were used to, but maybe just at a lesser quantity. So they're still taking on that risk with you. It's kind of like a part of that community factor you were talking about at the beginning, where everyone's part of this agriculture community and you're sharing in the risk and the benefits of having all sorts of different types of fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to make sure that you explain to your members what your crop failures were. And I think we did that on a couple of occasions. And so when we sent out our end of year surveys, people say, oh, I wish there was more cucumbers. And it's really important for us in that specific moment to explain, like, yes, you would have gotten so many cucumbers, but that was a crop failure for us. We ended up getting disease on our basil. So we didn't have basil, but then you buy a different kind of seed. So it's really important. And as long as everyone's under that understanding, I think that's a special relationship. It isn't that, oh, we don't grow that, or no, we just didn't want to give you that. The reality is like, no, unfortunately, we had a crop failure on that particular thing. I think it's probably pretty rare for a vegetable farm to have 100% perfection across every crop. And when that happens, I'm sure they're like, yeah. But there's always going to be one or two things that don't pan out. And so communicating that is really important. And that's where that strong bond with the CSA comes in, and that they understand that.
And how do CSAs usually communicate with their customers? They don't call them up every week for sure and tell them about what's going on at the farm. Is there some sort of way that they follow you guys, or do you reach out, or how does that work?
I think every farm is different. Some probably do like a paper newsletter. I've seen some that do that, which does sound enticing, but we do email, we have social media. We'll post things like this, you know, what we're doing for the week so I can get an idea of what we're up to. We'll make posts for our CSA members, what their boxes will look like. And even doing posts for our farmers market too, to let the farmers market, you know, patrons know what's available that week. So we generally communicate via email and social media. And we do like a bi-weekly newsletter that's not only sent out to our members, but we also have an email list. So people who may not have our CSA, but kind of, they like to see what our farm's up to because maybe they shop at our market, maybe their friends, maybe their family. Especially friends of ours that don't live in our community. It's kind of fun to send them our bi-weekly newsletter so they can see what we're up to, you know, because you're busy during the farm season. So it's kind of fun to share what's happening. And in these newsletters, we also let them know like what we have available that week too.
Cool. So what would be an advantage to getting a CSA versus, say, shopping at the farmer's market every week?
It's personal preference, really. We have some of our standard CSA members that also shop at the farmer's market. We don't put meat in our boxes, so if you want to buy local meat, you might end up doing both. I think there's an element of surprise that some people enjoy with the CSA, where they get a box and they are going to see what's in there, kind of thing, and that's what they eat for the week. And some people really enjoy that. And other people use this, you know, you're going to get a box of produce. And so some people like that motivation if they're trying to eat more produce or they want to buy organic produce, that they use it as kind of a launch pad to kind of change their diet around. Yeah.
I mean, I would add that we do a traditional CSA, that's what we're talking about here, but you know, we also have another type of CSA called a market share CSA. So that one revolves entirely around our farmers market stand and our farmers market season. And we do have members for that as well. So those are the folks who like to pick and choose what they want. So they come to market and maybe they're going out of town that week, so they only get $20 of veggies. Maybe the next week they get 30, maybe, you know, one time they have family coming. So then they load up, or they need to make a big salad. So they need 5 bunches of kale. Versus if they were to have our standard CSA or a large CSA, they might be limited on those quantities. So I would say there's some stability with the box, some excitement with the box. It helps develop routine and good eating habits. And the farmers, stopping at the farmer's market's more supplementary, adding to what you didn't get or adding to your whole diet. Bread, eggs, meat, picking up a bouquet of flowers, things like that. And, you know, pre-COVID moment, it was a good social aspect. They get to know us. So we do our best to communicate with our CSA members via social media and email. And one time, one of our members came to our market stand like, oh, I have a share with you. And you're like, oh, it's nice to actually see your face. You know, like you talk and you hear from each other, but you don't know what their voice sounds like. You don't know what they look like. And then you find it's like, oh, you're a vegetarian too. It's just fun. So I think there's that dynamic. And hopefully when everything is, healthy in a good state, we can have people over to the farm, and that will help strengthen that too. So even if they don't shop at farmers market, that they'd have the opportunity to come to our farm and get to meet us and get to meet other members and get to see the farm for what it is.
So how do they pick up the box then? How do you send it out in the mail, or how does that work?
Okay. We have drop sites. Right now we've got a drop site at Riverlights Bookstore in downtown Dubuque, and then we have a pickup at our farm. And so once a week, or how often you're getting your box, you just go pick it up from the drop site. And for our particular CSA this year, we are offering a reduced price for those who come and pick it up at the farm. Just saves a little on delivery, but yeah, pretty basic.
And what days of the week are you guys delivering? Is it Saturdays then, or?
Tuesdays and Fridays.
Cool. So if you're planning out your grocery trips for the week, you can plan it around when you get your CSA box of
Definitely.
Yeah, so far a lot of people are picking Tuesday for their delivery day. I think with that in mind, they can plan it out for the week.
Awesome. What happens if I don't know what to do with something that I get in the box? It's just like a kohlrabi. How do I know what to do with this?
So I would say, so we're vegetarian, so I think we eat a lot of veggies, but it's also exciting to get, hopefully it's exciting for you to get something you haven't had before, so that you can discover, oh, I really like this, or I'm not sure if I like this, or how could I get myself to like this? I would say for starters, try it raw. We usually tell customers, like, believe it or not, turnips are great raw. Slice it up or cube it up and try it as it is in its true form, and then try cooking it, steaming it, roasting it. And we'll also try our best to include recipes or recipes that other members have shared with us, so we can throw that in our weekly emails. So if we're getting out kohlrabi, and then I guess unless you're a Dubuquers seem to love kohlrabi. If you're not, or you're young, you might not know what to do with the kohlrabi. That's a great question. So our goal would be to like share some type of recipe to kind of introduce you to it, and like, how is this best eaten, and other ways to try it. Like I said, you might get a recipe showing you how to eat it one way, but there may be a whole nother way that you enjoy. Maybe you just, like, I have friends that roast radishes, but I like them raw. So vegetables are so versatile. I would say just kind of explore, be open to trying something different, and that we're giving it to you not because we're inundating you with random produce. It's because it's part of the seasonality of a vegetable farm, and how fun it is that you can only get this thing at this time and enjoy it when it's there, and hopefully you like it all. I think there's some discovery with that, trying things that you haven't had.
Yeah,
And you can always call us.
Yeah, you can call us. I don't want to say there's Google, but there's just so many wonderful recipe books out there too. I think we'll make a lot of references to some of the recipe books that we have and love, because they are very unique for vegetables.
Yeah, that's cool that your members share recipes with each other. That's a really neat aspect of being a part of that type of community. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we really want to increase that too, so people feel open to sharing it. Because it's easy to cook something like, oh, my friend did that or my peer did that. I feel like it becomes a little less intimidating when you're reading these fancy cookbooks by chefs. You're like, I don't know if I can do that. How do I do that?
Absolutely. So how do I go about picking a CSA farm to be a part of if I'm interested in doing this?
Well, I think you first identify what's important to you, like Andy was saying, what your values are. So you can read up on the different farms' practices, if that's an aspect that's important. A lot of times the farm will have examples of what they have in their boxes. So that's another layer. If there's a certain kind of vegetable you really, really like, and you see that like maybe our farm doesn't even grow it, then maybe you see if there's another farm that grows it. The frequency, like maybe there's a pickup time, like maybe our pickup times don't work for you. Maybe you want to pick it up on Saturdays and we don't offer that. So you might look to a farm that offers it on Saturdays. The price is another piece. We're trying to be as inclusive as possible by changing the frequencies. So Andy mentioned having a weekly, a bi-weekly, a monthly, or just the fall share. So there's all these different kind of price tiers within that to try to make it affordable and open it up. If you are intimidated by the idea of a weekly share, try the bi-weekly share. Or you can sign up for our market share and come to farmers market and try out. It's like, well, what does $100 worth of produce look like? Or what does $50 worth of produce like? Where does that get me? And yeah, just give it a shot. Feel free to call us or another CSA farm and ask questions. At the end of the day, we're growing food because we want to feed people. And I think that would be true for, I would say, nearly every CSA out there. So feel free to call or email to ask more questions if you have hesitation, because what we don't want is someone to sign up for a CSA and then midway through feel like they made a big, terrible, horrible mistake. Just ask questions first before you decide to invest in our farm or in another farm, so you feel comfortable and confident.
Well, thanks for joining us today, guys. I know I learned a lot about CSAs, and I hope everyone else did too. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the farmers market this summer.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank
Brittany.
you.
Appreciate it.
All right, see you later.
See ya.